I do the morning show locally, and then I do middays for like satellite markets in our company. So I do middays in Wichita, Kansas on T95, which is a badass heritage rock station. And I'm so happy to have that gig. And then I do middays on Z92 in Omaha, which is like the home of the Todd and Tyler show, and they're great. And I really like being able to follow them because they set up a good launch board for me, and they've got a great audience. And so and they're two modern rock stations, so it's kind of fun because like my morning show's on a classic rock station, and then I do middays on two modern rock stations, so I get to explore different ways of telling the same jokes and stories. Like I get to be way more edgy on my middays, and I start off light in the morning, and then I wake up and get angry at everything, and then I take that out on the modern rock stations. So
Perfect.
and it works. So
I
because
love that.
the Todd Tyler show is very, very like aggressively left leaning, which is very rare for radio. And so, like,
Oh,
any jokes I want to make, I'm not going to get in trouble for. Like, they've already made way worse that morning. I'm good.
oh,
I
that's awesome.
think my bosses, when they hired me, they were like, "This isn't gonna work." Like, they had no faith in it at all, and because they didn't hire me to be a morning show, like they hired me to be a traffic reporter, and then I became the co-host on the morning show, and then the morning show blew up, and they're like, "Well, we'll let you sit here until we hire someone more competent." And then I got number one first out the gate, and they were like, "You can keep sitting there." So, but they never understood it. And it took a couple of years of them just like staring at it weirdly, like this everything in our books that we've been taught in Radio 101 and the same shit we do, which is radio's biggest problem, is doing the same shit we've done for 40 years and not
Yep.
changing it at all. Like we did this contest in the 80s, then why are you doing it now?
Oh
This is
my,
not the 80s. We don't do that anymore. And so it's like I think with me, they thought the same thing. It's got to be some, 40 something dude with dick jokes constantly. And I can make blue jokes. I do go that way. Like, and I think that's why it works. But I think they forgot about the power of a young girl to older men, unfortunately, which is not my favorite thing, but it works.
it's,
So
oh my God, it's so true.
I'm in t-shirts and stuff. Like I'm not wearing bikinis. I mean, I did do the one white snake video, but that's the closest I get to anything that's like remotely risque. So it's like, I think it's not always creepy. I think sometimes I remind them of their kids. And
Yes.
so
Uh-huh.
it's like, they're adult grown up kids that they don't get to see as much. And so sometimes I think they find it endearing and appreciate my takes. And I don't go anything polarizing or age oriented. Like my content is very evergreen across the board on purpose because I want it to be an everybody included sort of experience while still being fun and still having sarcasm and wit and all that. And, I think that I mean, half of them are definitely horny old men, and that's fine. It's it's fine. It pays the bills. They don't touch. It's not an
Exactly.
OnlyFans, mom. You're welcome. Like it's like I found my way to milk it without taking my shirt off. So like, don't be mad. It's cool.
That's what I'm saying. And you
But
do what you gotta do. Like your TikTok is so good, it's so funny. Like it's one of those like like I know you have a lot, but like it should have more. Like it is
you
so
know,
good.
people keep saying that to me, and I'm the least confident human that ever lived, considering my position. So like, I'm always just like, I mean, I'm really impressed I got 4,000 because I don't feel like I'm worth that. But like, I don't know. I'll get there. I think it's just hard. I swore I was never gonna get on TikTok before the pandemic. I was like, this shit's stupid. I did Vine. I'm not playing this game again. I refuse. Fuck you guys. I hate video. Like I hate doing video. I don't like my face. I don't want to do this. So I went to radio. I would have gone into TV if I wanted to be in TV. So that was always my mentality. And then,
Yeah.
the pandemic happened and I was like, I'm really bored. Like that's literally it. And so I made it like April 2020. I made my TikTok account and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna start doing this. And then like it felt like every time I'd post one, I'd do a little bit better and a
Uh-huh.
little bit better. And it's like, I didn't get that instant boost like everybody wants, but once I started grinding and getting the hang of it, now it's like my stuff does pretty decently. I mean, I'm still not that big, but like I've watched several people really blow up and doing it like that, like Brew.
Oh yeah.
Dude, he kills it. And like we've got an account for one of my midday stations, and so the guy who's there in the market started doing like kind of like Brew, where he was taking requests, like, hey, tell me what song you want to hear. And so he'd talk up the ramp and make a TikTok of it. And so like our account grew like 2,000 people one day because he did that one afternoon.
Oh wow.
And it's like, that's all it takes is like
Yep.
the minimal amount of effort of just interacting with people and doing something that's unique and different. Because I think radio, we all are disillusioned about how cool our job is
Yep.
because we do it every day. And it's like, yeah, whatever. I sit here with a board and make stupid jokes every day. I'm bored with it. But like the reality of it is so many people think that's so cool. And so it's like if you can find ways to let people in behind the scenes without being hacky, I think you can find a lot of fame just by just the novelty of the weirdness of this industry, you know?
To me it's more opportunities because you're able to grow it not just on the radio. You have all these, that's why there's a lot of people that I'll see just based on social media that I just assume they're in a big market. Like I don't go look, I'm just like, oh, they're just in a big market, and then I'll like talk to them, I'm like, wait, you're where? I was like, oh,
Oh
your
yeah,
social media, I would totally not believe that.
there are two or three people that like I frequently forget that they're in really small markets, and I'm like, how do you have 50,000 people? Like there aren't even 50,000 people where you live. Like,
Right,
you know,
exactly.
like I'm in a million person metropolis, and I'm like, I got 10 grand, and
Right.
like you're over here in like BFE, and you've got 50,000 people. How the hell did you do that? Like, and then like I meet them. Like, there's one person. I'm not gonna name names.
Uh-huh.
I'm not, but there's one person specifically, and they have a whole bunch of followers. But like I met them in real life. I'm like, you are the most boring person I've ever met. Like, you have no personality. And I'm like, how? How did you buy them?
Same.
Did you buy them? Like your social media is not even that interesting other than you ask questions like everyone does. Like, cause all jocks started doing that shit. And that's why I don't do it. Like, I'm not asking you all questions. Like, I'm just gonna be me. And if you like it, cool. If you don't, I don't care anymore.
Uh-huh.
I think when I stopped caring is when I started doing better. Cause it's like the second they can smell the try on you, they don't like it. Like my TikTok is mostly not my listeners.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah.
they're all random people, but I've gained listeners out of it. Like I've had people like we've got one of those future apps where you could do the open mic, like everyone has anymore these days.
Oh yeah.
And and so I got an open mic from a TikToker who was like, "Hey, I found you on TikTok and I started listening to all your stuff on here and you're awesome." And I'm like,
That's
my bosses
awesome.
can now not yell at me for doing this at work.
Yeah,
It went
exactly.
to their email. I'm safe. There's one that I have 20 million views on,
Oh my god.
and I think it's 20. It's like millions of views. I don't remember. I haven't checked it in a while, but it's
Yeah.
got at least over a million views. And it's just ducks pouring out of a chute from a remote.
And there
Like
you
we
go.
dump dunks into a river for a charity event, and I did it with that. Look at all those chickens, and it got millions of views. And I'm like, I thought this was gonna get 2 likes, and I was gonna have to delete it. And it's the most viral thing I've ever posted. I was so angry for like a week after that. I was like, I'm not even making TikToks anymore. I fucking hate this app. The success is worse than not getting success. Like I hate it. It makes me so mad.
Of people that don't know social media as well, I'm like,
Yeah.
just don't get us discouraged. Like, because one days it's gonna hit, and one days it's not.
And like I've figured out some of the tricks to TikTok because like your shorter sounds and things, people have to loop you, trick the algorithm a little bit, you'll get on the For You page easier. So like I've learned if you keep it under 15 seconds, your odds are better. Um,
Okay.
but like it's still all BS. Like there's no good posting times. I've read all of the shit out there. Like you post between 1 and 3 on Tuesday. Fuck off. Like none of that stuff works. It's
Uh-huh.
all based on when people happen to be on the phone and when the right people happen to interact. And you can't possibly, I mean, you can be reasonable at about window times, but like
Yep.
a lot of that stuff is just experts trying to get you to believe their BS so they can sell you stuff. So
It's so true.
and Reels is still in that like probationary period where they like extra up your stuff to get you addicted to it. Like when
Mhm.
Facebook Live first came around, like I've noticed that, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna
Yes.
abuse this. Like I'll just post my TikToks over here too, because they're totally different audiences. It's free, and it's not like we've been trying to beg our corporate to buy us like one editing machine. We're like, listen, like get us one Adobe Cloud Suite, get us one editing machine for the whole cluster. We're not asking for a lot. Like just invest $500 or whatever. Like I'll build the fucking thing myself. Just give me the parts.
Yeah.
Like it's not even about getting it done. It's just because it's like they wanted to build like they want to build a green screen wall, and we were all like, well, what are you gonna do with the green screen wall? We don't have anything to edit anything. They're like, well, you guys know how. It's like, yes, we do know how, but do we have the equipment? nope, it's how this works. And they're like, you could do it with your phone. I'm like, no, that's not how that works. There are apps that can do that, but no, you don't even need a green screen if you're going to go that far. Like, don't even waste the money on that part.
Right.
And so it's like, it's
they
trying to
overthink
explain to
it.
these people that don't social media how social media works. They don't get it at all. I'm just going to keep grinding. I'll do something other than ducks and get viral one of these times. Stupid bastard ducks. It still pisses me off. It still makes me so mad.
I don't even
Doesn't have
think I've
anything
seen it.
to
I
do
gotta go
with
look at
me.
it. Right.
Yeah, like go down on my page. It's like probably half. It's probably a couple of thumb flicks. It's from like April, but it's just
Okay.
this giant, like it's a shipping crate, and basically they had a shipping crate full of rubber ducks, and it's just being dumped into the river.
And that's
That's it. It's literally 6 seconds long. And I think because it's 6 seconds long, it looped so much because people are trying to be like, what the fuck is that? Because that's exactly what you do when you look at it. It's just like,
Yep.
what is this? And so I think I tricked the algorithm by making it short and people having to, because it doesn't have that many likes. It only has like 5,000 likes, which is stupid. I'm like, how do I have millions of views and fuck you guys. Want something like I tried on to do that well, please. Like, that's it. That's all I want.
Pay off for my effort.
Like, just make it worth waking up that early and putting on makeup, please. Just please.
You know, at first in radio, they could use the excuse of like, well, we've always done it this way or whatever, and try to. But now with social media and stuff like that, we're all learning it together as we go. So there is no, oh, well, we did it this way. Like you said, there's some bullet points that are about some guidelines that are going to get you where you need to go. Otherwise, it's figuring it out, playing with things, you know, sometimes having to delete it and repost it. But they suck at it. And then when they decide, okay, we're going to put some effort into it, they way overthink it, like you said, like that, or just like not enough. And you're just like, no, you guys, no. Just ask the people that work there.
You know, I think that's a difference between like our generation, the younger generation, versus the folks above us in both radio and in general. Like, we're all like, how do I learn more? Because I think we've lived on such a Swiss Army knife gig economy that you have to be able to do 45 things or you're not going to pay your bills.
Yes.
And whether you're in radio or whether you're working at CBS, like, it doesn't matter. That's everybody our age. And so, and I think it's a lot of the, you know, I've noticed this about media in general. I think people are starting to reject more polished things and things that feel scripted and produced and all that. Like, there's some of that still exists, but I think like if the Kardashians were to appear on the scenes right now, no one would give a shit at all.
Yeah.
Like, because there's so many of these other influencers that are just like them that didn't have that because they were the only option at that point. You know, that was the Wild West. We barely had YouTube back then when they came around. So there was no one else to look at. And so that's, you know, they build their empire great. I think that once the old guard finally moves along, because I think radio's got a very big generational gap of a lot of people that need to retire and then a lot of people that are ready to move up but are stuck.
Because all those people are taking up those spots.
Yeah, and it's like, not to diss someone openly in public that could possibly eventually see this, but like that Maddie guy is a perfect example of like, dude, you're too old.
Right.
You're too old. Like, you're allowed to have your opinions. You're allowed to feel the way you do. That's fine. I don't agree with it, but like, you're on a CHR station. Like, you're talking to 20 somethings. It's a bad take. I don't give a shit what the book says about your ratings. It's irresponsible to leave someone in that position like that. It's a big market. Like, anyone will bring in those ratings on that station.
Exactly. That's the thing, is like, you just put somebody in there long enough and they'll do that. But yeah, they're like, well, he's been in there forever and he's got a big, they'll find someone else, especially a top 40 fucking audience, you know?
Yeah, well, and honestly, let's all say the ugly baby in the room, but the ratings are bullshit. Like, they're so poorly tabulated and not well tracked, and like, we've had to turn books and have them re-release them before in my cluster. Like, we found errors on Nielsen and they had to reissue the book, like, I think twice in the last 7 years since I've been here. You know, and that stuff happens, but it's like, there could be a better way to, and that's why it's like, I don't take, like, when I get good ratings, yay, I'm excited. Like, I'm on a high right now, that's great, but like, I don't take it too much to heart, because at the end of the day, like, you could have good ratings because 12 people filled out diaries and they all happen to be people that liked you, and it doesn't mean anything in the scheme of the actual listening audience. Like, it's, I don't understand why we haven't gone to an app-based, Venmo-based rating system. Like, listen, you put an app on your phone, it constantly listens like Siri. we'll Venmo you $10. Just leave this app on your phone for a month. That's
You
it. You don't touch it, nothing.
Since you've been then doing the show now as it is for so long, like do you still wish you kind of had a co-host to bounce off of, or you kind of like, I like it better this way?
I definitely would love to have a secondary person. I mean, I could do it by myself. Like, that's not a problem. It's just, I think radio is better when you have more than one person. Like, I think the best solo job cannot compete with a multiple person morning show, whether it's 2, 3, 4, doesn't matter. I mean, there's plenty of multiple person radio shows that are awful.
Yep.
Like, that's not a guaranteed equation, but I think that you can bring a lot more creativity and a lot more perspective to a show when you've got multiple points of view. And I think the two people that are exactly alike don't make a good show. Like, you've got to be a little different and you've got to be able to bounce off each other. Like, you have to be different in the sense of like different places in life or different perspective, but not too different that you're not able to work together or creatively mesh with each other, you know?
It's like characters of the show, like people can like, there's more chances for people to relate to somebody and enjoy it rather than just like, well, I don't like that one person, so yeah, I'm not listening.
Well, and there's that whole trope of like the dick, the dork, and the deer, like where there's every morning show should have those three characters, even though I don't necessarily agree that those are always the tropes everyone has to play. But you know, I think there is something to it that you'll find one of those people that you will relate to in some amount. So if the other person's saying something obnoxious, your person will chime in and you go, yeah, that's right, you got it. Well, yeah, and it's like, just look at any influencers social media if they haven't gone back and deleted all their old stuff. Like, their first video did not get 1 million views.
Yep.
And that's how that's how any creative endeavor should be treated. Like, your first run is not going to be great, and that's okay. You did it. Like, way to go. You got off your ass, you made something, you did something. And I'm not saying you put some half-ass shoddy stuff on Market 3, but you know, when it comes to giving a little more wiggle room for stuff, I think as long as the people are coachable and they've got what it takes to get there, you got to let them wiggle a little bit. And that's why these like knee-jerk changes are so bad. Like, I see so many stations that fuck themselves over by changing the morning show every year.
Yep.
So like, you're whiplashing your audience, and it's like, you can't, like, no matter how good they all are, the audience doesn't get a chance to get acclimated, and then you turn it on them again and they're going to get sick of it and they're just going to leave and not give a fuck no matter what you put on there, no matter how good it could be. And makes it look like, you know, either A, you're hiring terrible people and you look stupid for hiring idiots, or B, I don't know. It's not good. It's not good. It's not a good look for anybody, and it makes the audience upset. And it's like, you're better off trying to coach somebody than you are trying to pull the rug out from them immediately.
Yep.
Unless they're uncoachable. I get it. There's assholes in this business. There's some people that just need to fucking get out the door. I get it. But like, I don't feel like that's probably like 10% of the time.
Well, that's why there's so many less positions now available that sometimes it gets so frustrating when I see so many like good ones that aren't in them, and then these assholes that still are. Then I'm just like, we shouldn't have room for that now. Why is it so hard? But they just make it so difficult, or they still hire these big names. You know what I mean? Well, this person was a big name. I'm like, that's great and all, like, and they had a big following like back in the day, but like they refused to use social media. Sorry, we kind of have to with the job now. Like, I know it sucks.
Oh yeah,
but you have to do it.
You've got to be approachable, because they're the second they turn their car off, you're gone. Like, so you have to be there at other parts of their day so they remember to come back other than when they're in the car. Well, and they start to get to know you and feel more loyal to you. So I feel like my audience is more forgiving to maybe some unpolished parts of my show because they find me endearing because I'm their friend on Facebook. That's why I've always been very adamant about having a personal page on Facebook, as much as you're supposed to have a page, and I do. But my personal page has 10,000 people on it, even though I'm capped at 5 because I've got 5,000 following me. And I've got all those people on there purely because like they like being able to interact with me, and I like having a personal page part because I can go interact on their stuff, and I make a point to go through my friends list and just randomly interact with, you know, there's plenty of radio people on there, but like rando normal listeners, I'll go like their posts, or if I see someone's family is in bad shape, I'll, hey, thinking of you, you know. And it's like that kind of small stuff I think a lot of people think they're too good for, when in reality that one interaction, and I hate saying stuff like this because it always feels so conceited, but that one interaction, like, they'll remember that. They'll be like, holy shit, she came and like saw that and cared and was a real person, and so now when I say something stupid tomorrow morning that didn't make any sense, they're gonna forgive me because I was nice enough to them. And it's just I don't know. I like being nice to people. I like interacting.
It's spot on, and I think that's why it works too, when it is just the genuine. If somebody did want to sit down and write down, a formula of doing that, like that is, that's part of it, going down and sitting down and interacting with the audience, not just have them interacting on your page, but it's going out, liking theirs. I used to do that just from as our country station, and people would be so
Yeah.
excited if I just liked their photo, you know what I mean, or shared their photo, and give them credit, and because people feel like they're a part of it, and there's so many
Yeah.
people that don't do that, and I'm like, that's the easy, literally, your listeners, you can talk to them, touch them right there, and you don't do it.
Well, and I think people let their egos get too big for that kind of small stuff because you think I'm a superstar, I'm famous, I can do this stuff, and like it's easy to get lazy about it. Or like when I first started early on, I used to tell everybody happy birthday every day. I
Mhm.
cannot do it anymore. I don't have the time. I feel
Yep.
bad that I don't do it anymore, but like for the first like 2 or 3 years I was on the air with the Eagle, I would go through every day. I had a little graphic, happy birthday, hope you have a good one. And like it's so dumb and it seems so stupid, but it's like, holy shit, the person I listened to on the radio told me happy birthday. That made my day. And it's like that's one 5-minute activity I would do every single day that made it, and it built brand loyalty. It's making yourself approachable. You're no better than any of these people, and the second you start thinking you are is the second that they're going to turn on you. And when you've been doing it for that long, I could get where it would be easy to be lazy, because it's like we've always done it this way. I don't have to think about it. Why would I change it? But it's like I think the world has changed so much, not only in the last year, but really in the last like 5-10 years, when it became, it used to be you'd have to actually have somebody give you the right to be an influencer or a creator. Like they had to hand you the keys to the car and say, congratulations, you got a TV show, you got a radio show. But now, like, any dumb asshole can get their phone and say, I'm an influencer, and then actually become one. So, like, your
Exactly.
competition is the whole world now versus just the person on a signal right next to you. Like, anybody can DJ a podcast show on Twitch now. Like, and I'm glad. I'm glad that these people have found success doing it. Like, I don't see it as like you're gonna take like that. Just that gives me an opportunity to work harder. Like,
Mhm.
okay, I see what you're doing. I gotta beat that. So and I still have a different medium, and it's still different and more accessible, sure, but it's like I still have to remember those people are also doing the same thing, and they're finding sometimes more success. I mean, people like Kyle. Like
Mhm.
Kyle, everything he's pulled with Twitch, it's like I wish I had the equipment and the time to do something like that, because I think it's such good content. It's so well done,
Yeah.
and it's just like people are so lazy about that, they don't want to do it.
And and the whole branding thing, that's what I said, like with you, I was just like, you're like, oh yeah, I don't look like the other, I don't have the blonde hair or the whatever, and I'm like, that's great, I love that, because to me that's more sellable at the end of the day.
Yeah,
That's why I was
I
like,
look
she's
different. I'm easier to spot, like all those people look the same to me. So I'm like, what's the difference between me and blonde girl number 7? Like
yeah,
I
and
got cool hair.
the whole, yeah, and like the nerdy connection thing too, like it's just not like the typical, okay, we're gonna go to Target and what every other influencer does, and now I'm just an influencer on the radio. It's like, no, there's an actual brand, an actual personality here.
No matter how good you are, like I've watched it happen to people that like I've watched number 1 rating people like just fall off because someone didn't like them or whatever bullshit that they wanted to fire them for. And I'm like, I'm too anxious and I'm too much of a people pleaser. I'm happy to be in a company that's like, you just keep doing you and don't piss anyone off. Got it. Like they leave me
Totally.
alone. And I'm not, how like flanking works, where, obviously there's core stations you prefer to do better because financially they're easier to sell. And
Yes.
so because I'm not on one of those stations, my pressure is, so like when I do great, they're like, good job, but like I'm not the one that's expected to hit number 1, number 2. Very nice to have that freedom of, not that I've ever really had bad ratings. Like I've always stayed top 5, top 10. I think the worst I've ever done is number 7, and that was like a fluke book. So like, I always stay in a decent spot, but like I don't know. It's nice not to have somebody breathing down my throat about everything I do. And I feel like if I worked for one of the bigger companies, I couldn't do it. Like I just want to be left alone. That's
Just do radio. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I just want to do my job. I love the being in the studio doing my show part of radio, but
mhm,
a lot of the other part is very hard.
yeah.
And again, it's all based on how good of a situation you're in. Like I've had good situations, I've had bad situations, and I'm very thankful that at least for the most part, I'm in a pretty good one now that it's quiet. And that's the best
Good.
you can ask for. Like I don't feel like there's a target on my head. I know I'm not making the most in the building, and that's fine. I don't give a shit. Like my bills are paid. I'm left alone. I get plenty of opportunities for endorsements and remotes. I make probably my salary and endorsement remotes doubled. So it's like
Oh yeah.
because I hustle. I'm the one. I'm the person the sales reps always go to because I'm the one that will go above them and go get the copy for the client myself. Because I'm like, listen, I just talk to the client anyway.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do all of this, and I'm gonna make your job easy, and you just keep selling stuff for me. You go out there and focus on the hard shit. I'll make sure my endorsement gets covered. You just tell me what dates it runs. I'll go talk to the client because the client likes that better anyway, to be honest. And that way
Mhm.
there's no misinformation because it's like I've had so many times where I've been given like 4 copy points, they were all fucking wrong, and then I look like an asshole because
Yep.
I'm always going to be the one that gets blamed for it. When I could just call the client, like today, I had that situation with one of my endorsements where it's like I was told 2 different giveaways, and they were very similar, but there's one proponent of it that was very different, and it was it was a fireworks thing, and it was like, is the fireworks going to be in the Yeti cooler? Is it in this clear thing? I was like, I
Uh-huh.
don't want to say the wrong thing on air, so I just picked up my phone, I called the client, and said, hey, what the fuck are we doing next week? And he's like, oh, this. Cool, thanks. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Click. And then like so it's like and the client's happy because I have now called him and acknowledged him. I'm showing that I give a shit about his promotion, and now I've gotten it right instead of just assuming one of the two people was right or wrong.
Yep.
And then I don't have to think about it. Like I'd rather do the 2 minutes of legwork around them than to, you know, like drive myself crazy. And I think a lot of people aren't willing to do that. And so
Yeah.
then they fuck everything up, and then their client's mad at them, and then
Exactly. And you've made that connection, that personal thing. So like you said, the client will now be more forgiving, just like you said how your listeners would be, because they now know you. It's not just like some voice. They have that relationship with you now, you know.
yeah. Well, and they're spending a lot of money. Like the least I could do, like sure, I'm not getting most of that money, but the least I could do is make them feel like they made an investment. They're trusting me to get their product out there. And the clients that I have a back and forth with, I'm able to get their message out better. I'm able to help them promote their stuff much better. And it works better. Like I've noticed that like anything that's a national or something weird, it always feels junky and clunky and shitty and fake and when I could just go to the client and be like, "Hey, do you care if I say XYZ?" No, like the CBD hemp client I have that I get my Delta 8 from, like I just told her I was like, "Do you care if I say stuff like don't buy your CBD at a gas station because that's sketchy?" She's like, "No, that's hilarious because I can't say that. So if you say it, we're good." Like so yeah, I'm all in. And so it's like but I feel like my sales rep would have been like, "No, don't say that. That's offensive to somebody." But it's like that's what made the spot better. That's what made people go in because they're like, "Oh shit, I really should stop buying my drugs at a gas station." Or not
Yeah,
drugs, but you know what I mean.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
my pharmaceuticals, whatever. My relief of pain and other things. I
yeah.
should not. As you know, it's like you're not going to buy your Xanax at the gas station. Why would you buy? You know, like go to the
Uh-huh.
pharmacy, go to the place it comes from, and get good stuff.
Exactly. The interviews with you guys, but I need to go through and get like the small clips to have them like even distributed even more to get the stuff out there.
Well, I think this is a more realistic take on what's happening because I think asking the people that have had a great success story and never had any struggle how they got there, it's bullshit. Like, yeah, congrats, you did a good thing. That's not that you shouldn't feel good about it, but it's like if you haven't struggled and you don't know what it's like to go through a lot, you've just lucked your way, you've failed up all the way or whatever. Like
Right.
you don't have a relatable story. I would rather hear from somebody that is in a similar position to me as to how they manage to deal with the same bullshit I deal with on a day to day basis in a better way. And while you're not technically in the industry, you're one of the people I really admire in the industry just because you've got a really good perspective and I think a lot of people in this industry have been for a lot of years very thin skinned and unwilling to talk to or hear from other people. And I think that you've definitely brought a lot of us together in a good way. Like, I don't think I would know as many people in the industry if it weren't for Radio Fam. So, like,
Oh, that's awesome.
genuinely appreciative of what you've done to showcase and highlight people because like our companies aren't going to put that effort in, and you go above and beyond to help a lot of us get our name out there, and like super appreciate that.
Oh,
So
thank you. I love it. I mean, that is my favorite part. I love, like, I've had people say, like, oh, my company would never post my stuff or do, and I'm
yeah.
just like, why not? It's, again, it's a family. Why, it's not that serious either, too. It's in social media. Let's just have fun, guys, and enjoy something that we all love together.
Absolutely. And we should all be bouncing off each other, because at the end of the day, we're less competition with each other than we are with the rest of mediums at this point. So we all need to band together more than fight at this point. I think 20
Exactly.
years ago that was a healthy mindset. I think now it's really stupid.
The whole radio fam's got to come together. Well, thanks for spending your Friday talking to me.
Yeah, just let me know if you need anything from me in the future too, or if I can help you in any way, because always happy to help.
Oh
So,
yeah, absolutely.
well, I will
All
talk to
right.
you soon. Have a good day and a good weekend.
All right, you too. Bye.